Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.
Welcome to the Machakos edition of the Great Debaters Contest. I'm your host, Austin Nyomborg.
And I am Mariam Bashar. Today we have a classic Machakos rivalry. Mbooni girls goes versus Machakos boys, and they're debating on whether patents should be removed from AIDS drugs in the developing world. We'll let them tackle this very scientific motion now. Proposal number 1, you have 3 minutes.
Patents should be removed from HIV and AIDS drugs in developing countries. Okay, HIV or human immunodeficiency virus is well known to all of us because it causes this deadly disease known as AIDS, which since it began has actually left 35 million people dead and 78 million people living with it. So this is according to the UN AIDS gap report in 2015, and out of 36.7 million people living with HIV and AIDS, 25.5 million people actually come from sub-Saharan Africa. If you do mathematics, this is actually 69.5% of people who come from developing countries actually have AIDS. So I'm trying to think, if these patents are actually there and people continue to die every day, what do we need? If these patents are actually removed, they're going to be availability of these ARVs to the AIDS patients, because once these patents are actually lifted, you find that many manufacturers will actually enter this industry and they will begin to manufacture these drugs, and hence it will be actually easier to get these drugs from anywhere you are. Okay, if these patents are actually lifted, you know, developing countries, corruption reigns supreme. And if these patents are only given to a few companies, like Milan, Hospira, Aspen Pharmacare, among others, they actually exploit these people, because this is actually a leeway for them to exploit people using their prices. You know, they have no competition, and if they have no competition, they can actually charge the prices they want. Okay, I'm trying to think, if people can actually want to make a mere profit for the treatment of, and jeopardize the treatment of AIDS patients, what world do we actually live in? Okay, I would like to finish with a quote which says, giving a drug company a monopoly where it can charge prices as it can is like negotiating with firefighters in front of your burning house for their pay. It's been real, it's been Enoch Muteti, the great Machakos School. Thanks.
Mbooni girls, you have 3 minutes to make your opening statements.
Tukuna uwezo wako wangamiza ukimwi, tuko na uwezo wa kuangamiza ukimwi. This simply means in English that patented companies have the ability to defeat HIV and AIDS as a killer disease. My name is Sally Manano Haga from Mbooni Girls, here to strongly oppose the motion that states patents should be removed on AIDS drugs in the developing world. Now, I know the handsome fella from Machakos Boys clearly tried so hard to define this motion, but this is the true definition of the motion. When I talk about a patent, I mean it is the government, authority, or license conferring a right or a title for a set period of time, especially the sole right to exclude other companies or organizations from producing, selling, or using a certain product. AIDS drugs refers to medicines that boost the immunity of these humans who are infected with HIV and AIDS. And when I speak about the developing world, I mean these are parts of the world whereby they are growing gradually simply because the gap between the rich and the poor is ridiculously huge. I also know they didn't tell you this, but we have different types of ARVs, that is antiretroviral drugs. One of them is nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors. We have non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors and protease inhibitors. Now, most of these ARVs are not even being used together. A good example is stavudine and idovudine. If companies increase and they are allowed to manufacture different drugs all under the ARV brackets, this means that AIDS victims would end up using a drug that will cause adverse health effects, and in extreme cases, it might even cause death. Moreover, stemming into the definition of the term patents, patents enable the disclosure of innovations into the public domain for the common good. Without this protection, the inventor might decide to keep this innovation a secret. Actually, the act of awarding patents makes the details of this invention to the public, and this enables further improvement of this kind of idea. Furthermore, by awarding these patents, it ensures that the patentee's idea is not completely lost to humanity. I mean, this is my idea. Why shouldn't I be paid for it? Why shouldn't I be recognized for it? In addition to that, according to the World Health Organization case study carried out in Africa in the year 2011, it states that the HIV infection rates are declining in Senegal. Now, if these infection rates are declining, then patents should be maintained. This is because these patented companies, the current patented companies, are doing an effective job in producing, distributing AIDS drugs in these countries that are affected by HIV and AIDS. Thank you.
Gentlemen, you have 3 minutes for your cross-examination.
Patents should be removed from HIV/AIDS drugs in the developing country. I have a question to the opposer. She said that there are various kinds of ARVs in market today. She mentioned quite a few here. But my question is, in the year 2007, 33 million deaths were reported globally, and this increased in the year 2015, where 36.7 deaths were witnessed. Yet the patents were in place. So what do you mean that the removal of patents will increase the death toll? To begin with, patent of HIV/AIDS gives the giant pharmaceutical companies producing the ARV the guts not to collaborate with the research to find a cure for HIV/AIDS. Imagine a situation whereby you're having a product that is curbing another problem, but in its place, you can have a permanent solution to that problem. The entry of that product will lead to the exit of your product. You'll have to pack your things and leave. You'll have to pack and go home, or else dance to the rhythm of the music. As long as the disease exists, then the drugs, hereby the ARV, will always come in handy in the developing countries. So to curb this threat, the giant pharmaceutical companies will always find a way to block the research or to dodge the research to find a cure for HIV/AIDS. In the long run, more lives are lost, more children are orphaned, and more money is spent. HIV/AIDS has killed or has led to 36,000 AIDS-related deaths in Kenya in every year. Brilliant minds and good people are taken by this epidemic every year. Their skills and the exceptional minds are washed down the drain even after the patents are put in place. The truth is, the patents are not helping us. The patents is causing more and more loss of lives and more orphanage to our children. Let's face the truth and face it as it is. The writing is on the wall. Remove the patents and save our very own people. Is Emmanuel Mwanzia Mutune from the Machakos School. I rest my case. Thank you.
Ladies, you have 3 minutes for your cross-examination.
Faith Mbulanzao from Mbooni Girls here to strongly oppose the motion that states patents should be removed on AIDS drugs in the developing world. Now, a timeless effort should be awarded. Bravo, bravissima. Thank you for listen, but try to listen keenly. My first opposer just said that the infection rates are decreasing. So what do you mean that if this patent should be removed, what do you mean? These patents, these patients that have HIV/AIDS already know where to access their medicine. So when you say that they don't know where they should access their medicine, and yet they go for this medicine every month in their hospitals, if patents are removed in the developing countries, then human beings may be subjected as lab rats, because if the already developed countries invent new drugs and want to inquire how effective their medicine are, then they will dump them into these developing countries, because they will be the first in line. Because we all know that the number of HIV/AIDS patients now is higher in these developing countries. Not only is this an illegal act, but it is an act against humanity. Furthermore, patents are a source of pride. Taking a good epitome of Dmitry Kanevsky from Russia, at the age of 3 years old, he was not only deaf, but also HIV positive. When he grew up, he used his knowledge on biochemistry and engineering, and he managed to manufacture drugs that assisted the HIV positive patients. Now, he acquired 155 patents with his name. He will make his mark with these patents. People will know him for his patents, and because he used his patents to help the HIV positive patients. Not only is the root cause of the developing countries' inability to address their healthcare problems does not lie within the patenting system, but lies under the lack of funding, lack of political will, and inadequate healthcare infrastructure, says Louis Dunn from India, the spokesman of GlaxoSmithKline. So let's stop blaming the patenting system for the lack of HIV/AIDS drugs, and we take the bigger picture and see it as it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the audience. The proposition have been asked to give examples of places where patents have been removed from drugs and the effect of that on the spread of diseases. The opposition have been asked to clarify on the meaning of what a patent is and its consequences to society and, of course, to the spread of diseases. We'll have them respond. Third proposer, you have 3 minutes.
That's a good question. But unfortunately, I know none of these places and that is why I stand here to debate, telling you that these patents should be removed, because patents are in place to protect these places, and I'm saying that what they are doing to us is more than harm. A coin has two sides, and we need to realize that despite the fact that our opposers right here are here debating against us, the side of the coin, patents are causing more harm than good to us. And that is why I'm here and I'm telling you that once you remove these patents, more HIV patients will be able to live extent of their life. Why? Because the prices are too high for them. What is their need to be a drug in the market that the same people who are supposed to help them is not aiding them? Why? Simply because it's too expensive for them to get access to it. People are dying. In 2007, it was 33 million. Right now, it's 36.7. Look at that. Those patents that you are talking about are just killing our people. And that is why I'm saying remove them. Let the increase of supply so that the prices may go down. I take business studies. That's a fact. When those ARVs are in the market and they are in excess, you find that the prices will be low. And isn't that the whole essence? We need to save these people. And according to the Médecins Sans Frontières, MSF in short, when they began distributing these drugs in 2000, you find that cost of an ARV was at $10 billion per person per year. But as of now, it is less than $70 per person. And those are patents in place. So imagine if you remove the patents, what's next? When the prices drop, the whole essence is to save our people. The whole essence is to save our friends and family. And that is why I strongly say, to hell with those patents. Let them be removed so that our people can live. To add on to that, according to WHO, 1.8 million children were orphaned. Look at the statistics. That is 2015. Why? Because their families were too poor to access these drugs. In Africa alone, 415 million children, 415 million people are living below the poverty line, and most of whom are poor. They cannot access the drugs. Look at the number, how it's skyrocketing. Children are losing parents. I mean, take example, if it were you, how would you feel if you lost your parents to HIV and there's nothing you could do about it? And that is why I'm strongly here saying, remove the patents to let our people live. Give them another chance to smile. Give them another chance to be loved by their parents. Let us feel the warmth. We are human after all. And that is why I'm here and I'm saying, to hell with these patents. This is Brian Maundu. Machakos School. I rest my case.
Mbooni girls, you have 3 minutes to respond to the audience.
My name is Mercy Kavata from Mbooni Girls. Well, it is always good to listen. My first speaker said that patent is a government authority or license authorizing a right or a title for a set period of time, especially the sole right to exclude others from manufacturing, making, or using a drug. When someone is told to give an example of a country where patents have been removed and they are working and he is not able to, then it means one thing. All what they are saying is a lie. Well, when you say that AIDS patients are unable to get AIDS drugs because they're expensive, then I don't get you, because in most of the developing countries, example in Kenya, the ARVs are completely free for all patients and they know where to access them. So how does someone come here and say that people die because these drugs are expensive? How? Well, as we all know, ARVs are only administered to HIV/AIDS patients. While it may be of interest for you to know that, these ARVs are also used in the manufacturing of illicit brews. I know all of you want to ask, how? Well, according to the Sisters of Death case study carried out in Korogosho slums, it shows that the people who manufacture these illicit brews go ahead and ask AIDS patients to siphon more AIDS drugs from the hospitals. They mix them with other chemicals and come up with an illicit brew. We all know the effects of these illicit brews: blindness and, in extreme cases, death. How many more people are we going to lose? How many young, productive Kenyans are we going to lose due to these illicit brews? Now, if patents are removed, the generic companies that are producing these ARVs are going to increase. And these manufacturers of the illicit brews are going to be able to produce more illicit drinks. These developing countries will never develop because, as we all know, the people who are mostly affected by taking in this are the youth, the young, productive youth. After a drug has been invented and there are no patents governing the people who should manufacture this drug, the company that manufactured the drug put its time and research to manufacturing of the drug do not have any authority over it, because other companies are able to come up and manufacture the same drug. Who does not want to have its own thing? Because people, these companies, are losing what is rightfully theirs through an illegal means. Developing countries, as the name suggests, are still in the process of being industrialized. They get their funds from the already developed countries to be able to sustain their citizens. Now, do these countries really have enough money to support the generic companies that will come up as a result of these patents being removed and everyone wanting to venture into this market? Food for thought. Thank you.
Final submissions now. Machakos boys, you have 1 minute.
In 2015, $19 billion was put in place in developing countries to aid us access ARVs. Patents hinder these pharmaceutical industries from joining together to find a permanent cure for HIV. And all this money that is being lost, in 2020, 26.2 billion shillings will be required. That's according to WHO to maintain or sustain the ARV supply. Look at that. Don't you see the pattern? If all this money was supposed to be put in one organization so that they may share their ideas, we'll finally find the perfect cure for HIV. Isn't that not what we want? We want to see people stop dying. And therefore, if you put all this money there, finally, there's nothing too impossible that these people cannot do. She talked about profits, rather, and I'm here to ask her, which one is more important, making profits or saving lives? We are here debating patents should be removed so that developing countries can improve. This is Brian Maundo, I rest my case.
Mbooni girls, you have 1 minute.
Well, according to World Health Organization, the rates of HIV and AIDS infections are decreasing in the developing countries. And in these developing countries are the same areas where we have the patents governing the license, meaning that the patents are doing their work. People are dying. Less people are dying compared to the number of people who are dying before these companies came in place. Removing patents will further mean that work will cease because the huge amount of investment that was brought about by the multinational companies will no longer be there. Now, if these generic companies will not have that information that they need in that years to come when AIDS becomes resistant to the current drugs, what will they give to the AIDS population? Now, you are saying patents should be removed. Can someone help these people understand that patents bring more benefit than harm? Patents should not be removed. And to my opponents, sit down and relax. Join in the race whereby we're saying patents should not be removed. Mbooni girls, we rest our case.
Machakos High School, I think it is only Brian who really gave it a good try. So maybe in future, Brian should consider being the first speaker so that he can set the pace for the rest. Because the two, that is Enoch and Emmanuel, I found your introduction a bit low, though you came up and picked up later on. So just work on that. Enoch, again, you did not introduce the basic terms, and I really like it when our first speaker on the proposal side came in and tried to remedy the situation so that the audience can get what patents are, because it was a very tough kind of a motion, and it was good for you to explain to us exactly what you're talking about. Emmanuel, you gave statistics, talked about AIDS, and you talked about 36,000 dying in a year. So where did you get that? So you have to tell us where you get those statistics from. Quote a relevant authority. Now, Brian came in as the best speaker on the opposition side, and then Sally was the best speaker on the proposal side. Thank you.
Mbooni girls. First of all, to you as a team, that was very commendable. In fact, I didn't write too much because when you're excellent debaters, then I cannot write too much. So, Sally, definition of terms, excellent research. Your logic was based on research, which was very powerful, and citations as well, coherency, and very confident. That was a very good start for you as a first speaker. Faith, fair cross-examination. The statistics are there, yes, in developing nations. What are the rates of the HIV patients? I wanted you to give those statistics. They would have been very good. But however, there were other citations that you gave in your submissions that was very powerful. Mercy, you're also a powerhouse. Very good speaker as well. Well put, good role playing, good ending. Facts as well towards the ending would have been very good to tell us these are the rates that are there. To you as a team, you speak on intellectual rights, and we know of many other fields where people are complaining, saying, we need to be protected because of our intellectual property. So you want to emphasize more on that. And even probably allude to the fact that these companies spend a lot of money trying to get these drugs out and trying to get these preventative drugs. So it would have been a way of also convincing us. But to both teams, well done. Let's wait for the results.
Machakos High School, the judges awarded you 67%. Please give them a round of applause. Your opponents, Mbooni Girls High School, the judges awarded you 74%, making you the winners of this debate.
Congratulations to the two teams on stage. We'd like to thank you, our studio audience, and our viewers back home. Keep the conversation going. Hashtag GDC for SDGs. I've been your host, Austin Nyambok.
And I am Mariam Bashar. Thank you for watching.
The Great Debaters Contest is powered by Blaze, by Safaricom, the Youth Network.